right, guys, welcome back to the Buck Fever podcast. We've got a good one for you here today. It's just going to be us, just the Buck Fever crew. I think everybody's going to be hopping on, actually. I've got Jake and Eli with me right now. I think Colby's going to be joining us in a little bit. And we're just going to be chatting about some of the bucks that we've got on camera, some of the last minute items that we're hoping to get done before the season starts, and hopefully give out a couple of tips on what you guys might want to be looking for to make sure you get done as well. So it'll just be a quick one, just us tonight, no guest. And then we've got a couple of guests lined up and some other fun stuff coming up here before the season starts. So I guess we'll kick things off with Eli. We've kind of got a couple of pictures from you here before we got going on some pretty nice looking bucks and a couple ones that are pretty nice and maybe even passable. So if you want to chat a little bit about what you guys have going on for prospects this year.
Yeah, we have uh, we have a buck that um, for for those that have viewed our videos is Mr. Krabs 1 year later, and he has uh, ballooned into a really nice buck. So last year he was a mainframe 9 with good height, decent mass, and we were thinking that he was either a 3 or 4 year old. We were leaning towards 4. Um, But this year he's a mainframe 10. He's got the crab claws on both sides, and he's got um, for sure one side is a split G2, or it's a G2 with the kicker out coming out the front, and then the other side has the same feature that is starting to grow. I don't know if it'll end up being a scoreable point, but he's a he's a no doubter. We got another one who's just a big tank of an 8 pointer. He probably goes, we'll just conservatively say 20 wide, but he's got a lot of mass um, and decent height. He's a cool buck. And then there's another one, the mainframe 10, uh, that he's a big bodied deer. I would consider him more of a call buck. I mean, he's really nice. He's probably 140-inch 10, but uh, he's not one of our top prospects. And then we have one other buck that Pat and I are in the debate, um, whether he's a 3 or 4 year old. And as of this moment, I am going to pass him without knowing exactly how old he is. But he's a nice deer, mainframe 10. He's got a split G2 on, I believe it's left side. Um, and then the real exciting one is a what we think is a 2 year old 9 pointer that is wide, tall, and this year is probably a 145, 100, 150 inch deer, and we're thinking he's 2, possible that he's 3, but we have him on the for sure, um, for sure let him walk list so he can have a chance to really develop and grow into his full potential.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that you guys are looking pretty decent going into the year here with 145, 150 incher that you're thinking about passing on.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good problem to have, um, definitely. And then there's a couple from last year that we're still waiting on getting pictures of. Uh, these bucks last year we didn't really have pictures of them early season, so once they make that shift here, once the velvet comes off and they shift their core areas, hopefully some of those deer move back in, and hopefully we don't have a couple of the deer that we're targeting vacate and disappear on us.
Right. Well, I'll go over to you now, Jake. I know you've got a couple of bucks popping up here. I've been pretty quiet on the trail camera front so far. A couple of shooters showing up every 7 to 10 days, maybe. A lot of nighttime pictures. Just not super consistent yet. So maybe going to be more of a later season push for me. But I know you've got a couple showing up so far.
Yeah, we got probably two for sure. Three that I would shoot. One's a call buck. He's he's a tank. He's got a really good right side. He would have been a mainframe 10, but on his left side is just a club that comes out. I mean, I think he's got maybe a little brow tine going, but just a solid like 7 or 8 inch club that comes out. So I'm not really sure if he's hurt or what happened, but I don't know. I sent these guys a picture, and he's pretty big bodied. He's for sure a 3.5. He might be a 4.5. So I'd probably shoot him if I saw him, just because I don't know. I think he looks kind of cool, honestly. But then we got a mainframe 10 that is got some similar characteristics to the buck my dad shot that we call the ET. He's probably only 13 wide, but he's got some decent twos and threes, and his fours are pretty good. Plus his brows, so I'd probably shoot him too. And then the other one is one we call Junkie. I don't know if it's him from like when he was a year and a half, but he's got like 5 points down by his brow tines. He's just coming out all over the place, and his horns are kind of goofy the way they go, and they're crooked. So, but he's a mainframe 10 with all that junk. He's probably got 13 scoreable points. Um, he's pretty decent. I'd probably shoot him for sure. And then we got a wide 10 I'm pretty sure he's got the same genetics of all of the freak and the freak juniors that I've had the last few years. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd shoot him right away or if I'd shoot him at all, but he's on the watch list. We had another cool one show up that I sent you guys a picture of. He's like tall and just wide open, but he's in 8. I don't know. I'd probably pass on him, but he's cool looking. We had him early in the year, and then he came back like I don't know. It's been a month and a half probably since I had a picture of him, so he's cool. But there's one or two for sure that I'd be happy to take.
Yeah, you've got some prospects for now, but you guys always tend to have nice ones showing up throughout the season too, and especially once you get into like mid to late October and then get into some of the pre-rut and the rut, you're gonna have plenty of shooters showing up.
Right.
And that one callbuck
Hopefully
is a
he is.
shame because he's got like a 65-inch right side,
Yeah.
and then
The first picture we had of him, we couldn't tell what he was, and then my dad right away said, "Is he missing a side?" And he was like way off in the distance, and I was like, "I don't think so." And then like later that night, he came back through, and yeah, he's missing a whole side. I mean, just a club, but he probably would have been like 18, 17 wide and mainframe 10. His brow tine is almost like 6 inches already on his left side or his right side. So it sucks, but
yeah, I mean with that other side developing in a similar fashion, you're looking at a 140 something deer
right,
probably. So that sucks, but it's like you said, it's still a mature buck and would be a cool one to shoot. So I'm
right.
definitely looking forward to it. You guys have a lot of promising pictures starting to show up.
Yeah,
I'm
we had one like that last year, Jake. Called him Hooch, and that's actually that buck where I said that he's a 5 or 6 year old that just doesn't have a great rack. Um, Last year he just had like a club kind of thing on the one side, but just a huge body deer. Um, but they don't all grow 170-inch um, antlers on them.
right. I'm surprised he grew another side to him. So maybe I maybe I won't. And I'll hold off or see what he looks like. I haven't had a picture of him in like a week or two, so we'll
Yeah,
see what his side's looking like.
right, for sure. Well, it looks like Colby might be ready to go here now, so I'll bring him into this thing and we'll have the whole gang together. I know we've got a little get together planned at Colby's place coming up here. I know he's been busy little beaver. Colby?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, you are on the Buck Fever podcast.
All right.
it's just,
What's going on, boys?
oh, it's just me right now. I gotta merge us here quick, and then we're back.
Looking at that other one and all your other bucks, that he's probably too, which is awesome.
Okay, we're
Yep.
back. There's Jake and Eli. Colby, you're still with us?
What's up, fellas?
What's up, Kobe?
We've just been chatting about some of the bucks that we've got on camera. Saw some of the ones that you're gonna be passing on, which kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but at the same time, totally understand it. You got a bunch of good prospects out there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you guys have talked about it, but there's a really big 9 point that is, three at the most. Could even be two. He's definitely a small body and a huge framed buck. But I think he's getting the pass because he could be something really special.
Yeah, we covered it a little bit, and I know you and I talked about it previously, but yeah, it's something that, when you have private land access like that, it's decisions like that that you have to make. Sometimes you got to pass on really good deer so that they can turn into absolute mega giants someday.
Yeah, it's just one of those you kind of hope you don't even see so that it doesn't even make you have to make a decision.
Yep, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
if
I
he
see him coming, I'm not even gonna pick up my bow.
well, if he travels like 30 minutes north, I am gonna annihilate him, just so you know.
As you should.
That happened a couple years back, though. We had a very similar body type deer, a deer we called the Perfect 10. He was, oh man, he was all a 140 plus, just a perfect symmetrical 10 point rack and just a tiny body. Like if you'd cover up his rack, he looked like not even a medium sized doe. And I had him at 15 yards for like a half hour. And I never even picked up the bow, but that was a tough one, I guess. Especially because I don't think he didn't make it through that year either. I don't think. I think he got killed by another hunter or killed in a buck fight.
I think he's the one that got killed in that buck fight. One of the neighbors found him dead, and he was gored.
Really?
Yep.
Something you don't hear about every day.
No, I've never seen it.
Yep.
Well, we kind of went over a lot of the bucks that we've got prospects on now. Jake kind of shared some of his, and I've got a couple that are not necessarily consistent enough to consider major players yet, but we'll see how the season shakes out. But I know Eli had said before we got going there that you guys are pretty much wrapped up for the year as far as preparations goes. Maybe one more minor little trip there. Do you guys know of any last minute items that you're trying to check off before the season rolls around here?
Yeah, it'll just be I'll run down over Labor Day weekend and take a drive and just check water tanks and make sure that those are full or mostly full, and if not, I'll top them off. But other than that, I think we're good to go, minus a couple of stands that we need to get like bow ropes in, or we didn't have the right bow hanger with when we were setting them up. So other than that, we are ready to let her rip.
Sure. And the food plots that you guys have look amazing right now. What's the secret there?
Yeah, I don't know. Good seed to soil contact, maybe, and some timely rains actually afterwards. I know it's been pretty much a drought summer, but we have gotten a couple timely rainfalls since that seed hit the dirt.
Yep.
I think it's just the type of seed. It's kind of some different what's in there, like winter rye, some peas, um,
Yeah,
some
the
old, some fast growing, quick establishing stuff that, and there's some brassicas in there too. But that soil is also pretty good as well. But yeah, it's pleasantly growing extremely well so far. So
yeah,
it's definitely.
actually the day that I planted it, I was out there tilling it up in a thunderstorm. Um, like I flew down there, the sky was black. I'm going, oh boy, here we go. I drove up and I was absolutely drenched, and probably not the smartest decision I've ever made, but I wanted to get that seed down while the ground was wet.
Well, whatever you did, it seemed to work really, really well. Ours are coming up, but not the greatest yet. I don't know if they get enough sunlight, but how are yours looking, Jake?
Um, we planted ours like I think it's going on this weekend will be the third weekend. Yeah, one, two, three, third weekend since we planted. I think we're gonna head up there and just kind of do the same thing one last time. Make sure all the stands are good. Fill up our water tanks because we won't be up there till opener then. Um, and I can see two out of my five food plots through the camera. And the one where it's more dirt, like hard soil there, it isn't the greatest. I think because we got a ton of rain after I planted it, so I'm afraid it might have washed it out a little bit. But it's coming up, and then the other one looks pretty good. That's all radishes and turnips, and that's in pretty sandy stuff. So that one's starting to really go through with all this humid heat we're getting. And then the other one, I don't have a camera on, so I don't know about that one, but that's like pretty close to the sandy one. So I'm assuming that'll be pretty similar. And uh, the corn, I have two corn food plots that I planted at the end of July, and I was up there and like when I planted those other food plots, and in a week they already grew, they already sprouted up like 8 to 10 inches. So that'll be coming up in almost a month. So I'm excited to go see what those look like this weekend. Hopefully they're up a foot or two or whatnot. So
Yeah, for sure. What else are you trying to tackle this weekend?
I'll probably do a little scouting. I kind of want to stay up there on Saturday night and drive around, see what we got. I mean, more so around on the other around us. I was up there a couple weekends ago driving around on a Friday night. When we got all those crazy storms, I was like racing home through it, which was crazy because I thought the truck was going to go off the road or trees were going to. It was bad, but
Yeah.
that one field that you and me and Gabby drove by that in like March when there was like 150 deer in it.
Yep.
There was like 9 bucks up there that night, and they were walking away into the sunset on the ridge. That's pretty cool. So we saw quite a few. Do a little more of that. Like I said, double check all the tree stands are ready to go. I got 3 cameras up there that are cell cams, so I'll change those out. But after that, then we'll be out of there. Like I said, try and stay out for the last 3 weeks before opener and 3 or 4, whatever it is. And we haven't been up there much in August. I planted once and that was it. So I've been letting her lay, or letting her be pretty quiet up there. So
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I think we're gonna be heading up this Sunday again. We still got a bunch of stuff to get done. We've got a stand that's like half hung to where I just couldn't get it fully hung up there with the equipment that I had at my disposal the last time we were there. And I think we're gonna fertilize some of our plots again, top dress our peas and oats with some winter rye, and we got a bunch of shooting lanes to cut down. It's a lot of stuff to do, and I'd be a little bit more nervous about it in terms of like scaring deer away if we had a bunch more consistency coming from them. But I mean, we have does and fawns. We'll get a picture sent every 10 minutes of does and fawns running around on one of our cameras, but these bucks are so sporadic that I'm not too concerned about making all that racket up there. And we've still got it'll be a solid 3 weeks before the season starts that we won't be touching it. Is that kind of like the rule of thumb that you would be going with, Jake? Of like 3 weeks is kind of the last time you want to be up there.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a rule of thumb, but that's kind of what we kind of go by. But like I said, I don't know. I haven't told you this, but when I was up there the other couple weekends ago, I was driving on the four wheeler and I drove within 30 yards of a doe and three fawns out in the bean field, and they didn't even move. Didn't even care that I was there. They had no care in the world. So, but if I was walking, they would have freaked out and ran. So I think as long as you're on the four wheeler, it's really not that big of a deal. Like if we're changing waters, I don't even get off the four wheeler, so I'm not spreading scent. The noise, they're used to that noise of the four wheeler, so it doesn't really bother them. At least that's what we've seen. Like we've had deer where we drive by and they're in the woods and we're on the edge of the field and they don't even move, you know. So I think as long as you're not, you know, trouncing around like crazy, but 3 weeks that'll give you plenty of time to, even if you do go in there and clear some stuff up on the Sunday, that's plenty of time for it to settle back down.
Right. Eli, do you got any thoughts on that? How long you might want to give it before opening day?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much par for the course for what we're doing. You know, my trip is going to be on a four wheeler or the Ranger, and I'll be able to, you know, see where water levels are at without even getting off. So if they're decent, then I won't even bother getting off. There's a couple cameras that aren't cell cams that I'll probably pull cards and swap the cards out, but you know, that's pretty much it. Just stay out of there as much as you want to be out there and doing stuff. Best thing you can do is leave it alone at
Right.
this point.
Have you guys noticed a similar thing as Jake? Like if you're on the four wheeler, they don't really seem to mind as much.
Um, I think I think it has an impact on them still, um, but not as much. And it depends on where you're at with the four wheeler. So if you're just out around the edge, I think you know that there's ag land everywhere, so they're pretty used to farmer running out on a four wheeler or something along those lines. I have noticed on nights where I get a text message from the landowner saying he went out on a ranger ride with his wife. That you know deer movement has been impacted. We don't have as many daylight pictures, but I think it just probably keeps them laying down a little bit longer.
Right.
That thing's so loud though that I mean, as soon as you're out of the area, they know you're gone.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Well, Colby, I know that this past weekend looked like you did a little bit of practice shooting out there. You got into some 3D target shoots. You want to go over that a little bit?
Yeah, I've been shooting my bow pretty regularly over the last, I don't know, probably month. At least when I've been home, we've been gone on some family vacations and camping and stuff. But when I'm home, I basically have been shooting just about every night that I can, and actually have, like, knock on wood, seem to have made some really nice progress breaking out of my target panic that I've been dealing with for the last, year or two or whatever. For anyone that doesn't really understand what target panic is, it's like not being able to hold your pin like on exactly where you want to put it. A lot of times my pin will hover like down below it, and I just like can't physically or could not physically like put the pin up on the target and hold it there or let it float. A lot of times they say you should be able to let it float back and forth, and then you just squeeze the trigger. And I just could not get the pin to go up on the target. It would hover below, and then I would, quick raise it up to it, and as soon as it hit the target, then you punch the trigger. Like, that's classic target panic. But I got some advice from one of my neighbor friends, my good buddy, and he talked about blank barrel shooting, so bringing the target up to 3 yards, 5 yards away, closing your eyes and just focusing on the shot. And I was mixing that into a lot of sequences of shooting, or just some nights just plain, just that's all I did. But really what I think helped me is another drill that he told me about was just start shooting that target at like literally 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards. Because at that such close distance, it's like impossible not to have your pin on like the bullseye. Like
Right.
it was so easy for me to keep it on the bullseye because it's so close. So then I just kept building confidence. And again, so many nights, that's all I shot was like, I'd shoot 50 arrows at 5 yards, which seems ridiculous, but I would hold the pin in there on the target and I'd be able to hold it. And it would just keep building that confidence. Like, okay, I can hold the pin on the bullseye and I can let it float. And then I just kind of kept backing it up, and I'm out to very comfortably shooting pretty good groups again out to 35 yards. And then this last weekend I got into I love shooting 3D archery, especially the summer shoots. I shoot a 3D winter league, which is awesome and a ton of fun, but the summer shoots are great because they usually take you through a wooded course and you're hiking, walking around, and get to go to, usually 25 to 30 targets. This one happened to be one where they didn't tell you the distance, and you also couldn't use a rangefinder. So it's super realistic. You had to judge the distance at every target. And I shot one of like the best rounds I've shot in the last like 5 years. So that was a huge confidence boost. Things are going well, and just going to continue to keep up the regimen with shooting and keeping the confidence up high heading into the season.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And I bet that felt pretty great to shoot a good round like that. But it kind of reminds me of the conversation we had with Rich Wooten a couple weeks ago, and some of the instruction that he had given on overcoming target panic and some of those things. And I know I kind of ran by him what I had done a couple of years ago when I was going through a similar thing. And I don't know if he really seemed to think that it was a tried and true method of mine, but it certainly worked. I just went back to shooting my old bow at a super low poundage. And I think it's kind of the same concept that you were talking about, Colby, like being so close to the target where you almost can't not hold that pin on there. I was shooting this old bow at such a low poundage that like I could just hold it forever and ever and ever. So it took away that urgency, I guess, to punch that trigger as soon as it was on the target, because I knew I could just hold it forever, and like if it wobbled around, it was gonna be fine because I could get it back on there, and that worked for me. Just drilling with that for a couple nights, just shooting it on that lower poundage bow, and then next thing you know, I was back ready to go, right as rain. So I guess whatever works for you to overcome that target panic, but once you do, it's a pretty good feeling for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's any specific, way to skin the cat when it comes to that.
Right.
Everyone's a little different, and it takes a little bit different for everybody to break out of it. Some guys can snap out of it really quick. Some guys, it takes years. Like I said, I've been dealing with it for at least over a year, if not 2 years. And hell, Eli probably would say, yeah, I've been dealing with it forever when it comes to the gun, but because I've certainly had enough misses with the gun. But maybe that's just buck fever. But
that's confirmed.
But yeah, it's definitely felt good to feel like I'm making strides, and I know I'm not totally out of it, but making strides and feeling a lot more confident has been a really good feeling here lately over the last couple of weeks.
Good. Well, I know we're coming up on a half an hour here, and I do want to keep it short. We've been coming at you pretty heavy here with a couple of good guests the past couple of weeks, and I know we have a few more in the works in the weeks to come. So we'll keep it short on this one. But Colby, do you want to just kind of preview a little bit of an event coming up this coming weekend?
Yeah, getting excited. We're gonna do a little. I don't know what we're really calling it or terming it, but Buck Fever Outdoors, kind of like a little kickoff night. All the Eli's coming across the state to partake. We have our fantasy football draft that I am the commissioner for. This is, believe it or not, our 27th year of that. And Eli's been in it for, I don't know, probably 20 of those years, something like that. But we have our draft on Saturday, so he's coming across the state. And he's going to be here, so I had put out the invite to both of you guys. I said, hey, why don't we all get together at my place and kind of have a kickoff event where we shoot our bows, maybe film a few things. My basement just got refinished. We can, shoot a podcast, throw on all the videos from last year, just kind of hang out, watch some of our stuff, have a good time, have some good conversation, and just kind of get jacked up and excited for deer season. So I'm gonna grill out some venison, and we'll be eating some venison. I think the old boys here might get paid up on their turkey hunting bet.
That's what I'm looking forward
A
to.
couple of beverages might get put back, and we'll have a good time. It'll be a good kind of kickoff for start to hopefully a successful 2023 hunting season for all of us.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Eli, what just to confirm now, what are the goodies that we owe you here?
Well, I mean, considering we pitched the shutout, doesn't seem like much, but it's a 30 pack of bush light and a bottle of wild turkey.
Okay, that's what I had remembered as well, but I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make the young guys pay too much on something like that.
Well, I heard this was just coming out of Jake's pocket anyways.
Right. Yeah, I still living at home, so
Yeah, so you must be able to cover it then, huh?
right. I mean, as long as they share.
Yeah, we'll make
Yes,
them
sir.
sure. All right, well, I am super looking forward to that. It's going to be a great night for us to hang out and get pumped for the season, but I know we're also going to try to get some content out of that night as well. So there should be some good stuff coming out on that. And then we've got a couple other good guests coming up on the podcast, another video or two before the season starts, and then it's going to be deer hunting for a while. And I know we're all super pumped for that. So we'll keep it short here. We'll wrap things up. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on all this stuff coming up, and stick with us here over the next couple weeks before we get to the good stuff. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.